Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Please visit our website, holybatcast.com. It's where you're going to find everything you need around the show. But if you don't want to go to a website, you don't have to. You can just go to all the websites you already go to, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Search at any of those places for Holy BatCast. You'll find us. You can also find us on Patreon. So if you're a big fan of the show, would like to help support the show through Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, huge bat thank yous to all of our patrons. We love you guys. We are a proud part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you're looking for other shows to sample, you can do that at rf4rm.com. Other shows pop up there, and check those out. See if you like them. As always, I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. Hello, and if you'd like to follow me, you can do that on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova, ANDYDIGENOVA. Now, this episode, we're going to do something different. We're going to turn back the clock. How many years? 30, 40 years? I didn't even do the math. I think it's 40, almost 40 years. We're going to talk about the crazy late 70s TV special, Legends of the Superheroes, The Challenge. And joining me, the only person I would want to join me on something this special, on a piece of live action entertainment this good, it's my Bat brother from another Bat mother. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
I think the only person who might have appreciated this show more than the two of us is my son, but he's asleep, so we're not going to hear his thoughts.
Did he watch it with you?
He watched probably a little over half of it.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about it. So, yes, we are going to get into it. We're going to talk about Legends of the Superheroes. Before we do that, Jamie, how's your No Plans November going?
November is not exactly the relaxing month I was hoping it was going to turn out to be, but you know what? Life is funny that way. It just likes to, oh, you have plans or lack thereof? Let me just jump in here and take care of that for you.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. Like, you
Hey,
know, best
first world
intentions.
problems. There's food on the table. There's four walls and a roof over my head, and got a great family, and I have a job. So, I mean, it's hard to really get too negative about things.
Good. It's a good way of looking at it. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's the crazy thing about No Plans November is I don't make plans, and so I don't have plans, but then people ask me to do something, and I'm like, well, yeah, I can do something. I have no plans. And then all of a sudden, it turns out, now I have plans.
See what happens?
I need to start just being like, no, I'm just going to be a hermit in my room. So it's still more relaxed than October, but yeah, you know, the best intentions, and we just get busy. What are you going to do?
I triple dog dare you to have dead scheduled December. Yeah, try that. Go ahead.
Yeah. See, I'm not even naive enough to think that could work.
So, effective November 1st, there's like 3 radio stations in town. I don't listen to the radio. I listen to basically my phone for music and podcasts and stuff. There are 3 radio stations November 1st. One of them actually was just like 2 days ago, but November 1st, the other 2, strictly Christmas music from now through New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love the holidays as much as anyone, but come on, that's just a little, no.
I know. I feel you. I push it off as much as I can until Black Friday. Then I dive in. So, well, I'm glad that even with no plans November, you found the time to chat with me. We were going to do this a couple days ago, but then I made plans like an idiot. But it was worth it because the plans was going to see Batman Mask of the Phantasm on the big screen, which was one night only.
You know what? I said I was going to try and do that because I'd mentioned before on the show, I saw it in its original run in the theater, and there's like a good portion of the film that I missed half of because like the film got wonky or the projector did, so I could only see like the bottom half of the picture. And I was like, oh, I should go back to the theater and see it, in its full glory for the first time. But
Yeah.
turns out I forgot about it, so that kind of sucked. But on the plus side, I wouldn't have been able to go anyway, so it all worked out in the end.
Well, there you go. I guess you just other things happened that made
Yeah,
you unavailable.
there was way too much going on for me to have made that showing. So
Got it. I went. It was glorious. The theater was like nearly full. I wouldn't say it was sold out, but it was pretty darn full, which made me happy. Probably made more on Monday than it did in its initial theatrical release back in 1993.
you just said what we were all thinking. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't
never
even
mind the
see it
ticket
in the
prices are
theater
probably-
in 1993 because it disappeared. It came out on Christmas and was gone by January 1st.
yeah, that's a shame. It really is. 'Cause it's
So-
I mean, find somebody who doesn't like that movie. I mean, that baffles me.
Yeah. So it's cool. I love that they did it. I love that Fathom did it. It was super fun. It was great seeing it on the big screen again. Great seeing it with fans. And yeah, for everyone who did miss it 25 years ago, they got to remedy that, which made me happy. And then they showed that Fathom is doing the 40th anniversary of Superman, the movie. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to do that too. And then they're doing the Death of Superman and the Reign of Superman double feature in January. So
I considered that one, but then I'm like, nah, I'll just wait for the Blu-ray because I'll be able to buy the Blu-ray for what it would cost for me to walk into the theater anyway. So
well, because when you walk into the theater, you have to walk in with a bunch of other people, right?
yeah, that does seem to be the case.
Is that how it works?
Well, I mean, it's either everybody goes or nobody does now. It's like I haven't been in the theater since I saw Halloween, and I couldn't tell you the movie I saw before Halloween in the theater.
Okay.
It's been a while. I have not been to the theater much this year.
Oh, that's just sad.
I agree, but it's the way things go.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, the Blu-rays turn around and come out so fast. Amazon rentals and all that other stuff. Like, I'm really mad. I'm not going to be able to see A Star Is Born or Venom in the theaters because I just can't make my schedule work out to do it. But you know what? Both of them will be able. I'll be able to rent both of them probably by December or January at the latest.
Right.
So the turnaround's so quick. It's not like the old days. Back in the Stone Ages, kids, when you had to wait 6 to 12 months for something to hit home video after its theater run. Mm-hmm. That was terrible.
Yeah. Can I tell you how many times I have failed at seeing Venom? Like multiple times in the past month, I've been like, oh, hey, I'm going to go on Tuesday. And then something happens and I'm like, okay, guess not. It's been like 4 times I've tried to see Venom and failed. So I have still not seen it. So
I hear a lot
you.
of mixed reactions, but I'm curious. I mean, I love the character, so I'm willing to give it a shot. But some people really enjoy it. Obviously, it's making boku bucks out there, from what I gather. I think it's about to hit 600 million with its Asian releases this past week.
It passed 700.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
So
I guess Rotten Tomatoes and critics aren't what makes or breaks a movie, now, is it?
no,
Seems
not
to me
really.
we've had this discussion in the past at some point.
Yeah. So I didn't help it, but it didn't need me.
Evidently not. It's fine without us.
Right.
I'll contribute to its home run.
Yeah, there you go. But I get it. There's plenty of things to watch. And fortunately, there's plenty of stuff for us to watch on the DC Universe app, which I'm still loving, by the way. Makes me happy. So when that app came out, we had fun looking through all the random stuff that they had thrown on there, and they made me very happy because as a DC nerd, I knew that there was years and years of random crap out there, and I was like, I hope it shows up on the app, but I wouldn't be shocked if it didn't, because it's random, but they did not disappoint, and they dug up some really obscure and weird stuff to put on the app for fans like us to enjoy, maybe for the first time, maybe for a return visit, whatever. And one of those things are these Legends of the Superheroes TV specials. Now, I already owned this on DVD because this was one that I had to own. It had to be in my collection because I will only own masterpieces. It's my rule. So when I purchased this, it went right next to the Kathy Lee Crosby version of Wonder Woman. Nothing but the best on my shelf, Jamie, is the point.
I have a question. Did you see it prior to buying the DVD?
No. I bought it sight unseen.
Well, understandable. I did as well because you told me about it, and I was like, oh, I got to get this, and it was only like $7 on Amazon, and I've never taken it out of the shrink wrap, and I still haven't because I watched it on DC Universe tonight.
I know.
I thought, I'm paying a subscription fee for this thing. I'm going to get my use out of it. So.
And it's regular DVD, right?
The DVD that I have is.
Yeah. So you can. Hey, Christmas is coming. Send that shrink wrap DVD to Australia. They only have DVD there. They don't have Blu-ray. They don't have the DC Universe app. And, like, you'll make a little Bush baby happy with his Christmas gift.
Yeah, I'll send him a $7 DVD that'll cost $347,000 to ship.
Totally worth it. To see the little smile on his little koala face when he wakes up on Christmas morning.
Yeah, you're probably right. But then I remember he sent me
Then he can
Bat
listen to
Hanger,
this episode.
Yeah. I'm going to find something he really doesn't like and send it to him for Christmas. I don't know what it is yet, but trust me, I'm going to find out. He'll send a message to his wife. What does your husband really hate? What does he hate?
Send him some fast food, some American fast food.
Ooh, Outback coupons. There we go.
Ooh.
Done. That's what he's getting. Don't tell anybody. All right, everybody keep quiet. Shh,
I would much rather you get him a bloomin' onion and, like, wrap it in bubble wrap and put it in a box and send that.
A bloomin' onion and a half-drink can of Foster's.
If you do that, I will split the postage with you. So Legends of the Superheroes, it's out there on DC Universe. For all of our American friends, you guys have it at your fingertips. For all of our international friends, I'm so sorry. Jamie, first one to respond gets Jamie's copy. I'm just offering it up. But you all are smart people. I'm sure you'll have a way to watch it. But when this came out, we actually got a couple emails immediately being like, hey, you guys should review that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, hell yeah, we should. And so the time is now. There's no time like the present. Now, Jamie and I only watched the first episode. There's two. There's the challenge and the roast. So we're just going to talk about the challenge today because Legends of the Superheroes is so good that I want to get 2 full episodes of Holy BatCast out of it.
I got to tell you, I had a hard time resisting the temptation to hit the play button on the second episode.
I mean, they leave you on such a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just did the first special. So if you are listening and you're like, oh, I want to go watch it, you only have to watch the first one. We'll let you know when we do the roast. But yeah, without further ado, we have watched Legends of the Superheroes, The Challenge, and now it's time to turn the clock back to 1979 and revisit this little slice of pure 70s goodness. So without further ado, Legends of the Superheroes.
Legends of the Superheroes. For centuries, the world has been protected by a group of extraordinary men and women who have dedicated themselves to fighting crime. Ladies and gentlemen, the world's mightiest mortal, Shazam! Endowed with the wisdom, strength, and courage of the gods, Captain Marvel fights a never-ending battle against evil. Guardian of the universe and possessor of an incredible power ring, the Green Lantern has the ability to perform amazing feats against evildoers. Sentinel of the skies, winged phantom of the night, the Hawkman fights the evils of the present with the weapons of the past. Combining beauty, wisdom, and physical prowess, the Huntress fights a constant battle against crime and injustice. Joy of the oppressed, wonder of the multitudes, the Flash. This crime fighter is swifter than the speed of light, fleeter than the rapidity of thought. With the uncanny ability to generate earth-shattering sound waves, the Black Canary fights a relentless battle against criminal injustice. With his reckless grin, devil-may-care courage, and incredible gymnastic skills, Robin, the Boy Wonder, is Batman's crime-fighting companion. His symbol, a frightening creature of the night, his disguise strikes terror into the criminal heart. Batman, the Caped Crusader, has pledged his life to fighting the forces of evil.
Now, again, this is a 2-parter, sort of, but when you see the second part, which we're not talking about, like, they don't really match up, so I don't know why it's a 2-parter. But these...
I was going to ask, do you know anything about the air history of this, like when it debuted or anything like that? Because this almost strikes me as basically the DC Comics version of the Star Wars Holiday Special in that it probably aired one time and then disappeared for decades before
Yes.
that DVD finally showed up.
So this is one that I do believe it only aired once. It aired in January of 1979. So the first part, the challenge, aired on January 18th. The second part was a week later on January 25th, 1979 on NBC. It was produced by Hanna-Barbera. So Hanna-Barbera, who was already making Super Friends, the cartoon, they were like, hey, we're going to produce a live-action superhero special. Because if you think about the context of the time in the late 70s, what was all the rage on TV? Variety shows. Variety shows were everywhere. Everybody had one. And this felt like Hanna-Barbera, like dipping their toe in the variety show waters, but with something that they were already working with, which is with the DC superheroes. And yes, I don't think they ever aired it again. It does feel like something that was probably passed around via bootleg at conventions for years and years and years. And then
see, it's weird because I had no idea this thing even existed until you told me about it.
Somehow I knew it existed, and I feel like it's because I saw bootlegs of it. I didn't own a bootleg, but I swear, that's how I must have known about it, is I go to conventions because I'm a geek, and I go flip through all the bootlegs, and I just remember seeing it there. And so I knew about it that way, and I swear that, it might have been mentioned in a book I read, or an article I read, or I saw a photo of it in an old magazine or something. I just had a very vague awareness of it, but I'd never seen it. And then in 2010, Warner Brothers released it via the WB Archive, or the Warner Archive. And of course, I had to spring for it, because not only was I going to get to see Batman and Robin in live action, I was going to get to see so many other DC heroes and villains in live action. Of course, by 2010, I'd already seen so many in live action, but I wanted to experience this. So yeah, I made the purchase. Mine is not in the shrink wrap. I've watched it. Probably only one time, but I've watched it because I certainly have memories of it. And then again, when DC Universe was coming, I'm like, oh, you got to put this on there. And I don't think I'm the only fan who thought that, because again, we heard from our listeners like, hey, did you see that they put it on there? So we weren't I wasn't the only one waiting for it. But yeah, it's this crazy little live action footnote where it's the first live action version of Green Lantern and The Flash and Huntress, of all people, Black Canary, Hawkman. Shazam already had a show years earlier in the 70s. But
and this was
he's
not
back.
the same guy that played Shazam in that show, was it?
Not that I know of. I didn't look.
I'm not familiar. I mean, I saw a little bit of that Shazam show when I was a wee little kid, like 4 or 5 years old. I just had the vaguest memory of it, but not enough to remember whether or not that was the same guy. I really don't think it was, though.
Well,
and of course, I'm too lazy to Google it and figure it out. So.
If only I had some sort of device that would allow me to check such things. And no, it was not the same. Okay. So Shazam from the show ran from 74 to 77, and Captain Marvel was played by Jackson Bostwick and then replaced by John Davey. And in this one, he is played by Garrett Craig.
Speaking of 3 actors, do you know the 3 actors who played Hawkman in this?
3 actors?
You see the size of that guy? You ain't telling me that wasn't 3 actors in that costume.
What you talking about, Jamie?
That dude's freaking enormous, man.
He is. But not too proud to give out a caca.
That was just incredible. His bird call was better than Canary's bird call.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny that. So anyway, yes, here's the roll call. You get Batman and Robin, and it is Adam West and Burt Ward reprising their roles on a separate.
Am I crazy, or did it not look like Burt Ward? I know it sounded spot on for him, but it didn't look like him to me anyway.
Well, keep in mind, this was 11 years after the end of the series. And Burt Ward was a very young man, and in that part of your life, you can change drastically in 10 years.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Whereas Adam West, not so much. So no, it was definitely Burt Ward, not during the little opening roll call. That was not Burt Ward, because I don't think Burt Ward can actually do backflips. But yes, it was him. However, I guess we can mention it now. Having them call him the Boy Wonder and the Teen Wonder, where he is obviously a grown man, still wearing the outfit, and the outfit's a little tight on him 10 years later. Again, not with Adam West. Adam West looked great. He was in great shape still. Burt Ward, he was not in Robin fighting shape anymore. So it was a little amusing to hear them constantly talk about him like he is still a teenager when he is definitely not.
Look, TV series like 90210 made, a decade's worth of episodes about 50-year-old people playing teenagers. So I ain't mad at it.
It's just that when we can compare to what he used to be.
I mean, what are we going to do? Put him in a Nightwing costume, for crying out loud?
Yes, we will. Disco Nightwing. And I also I wonder if they used to dye his hair for the 60s show, because in this one his hair is a lot lighter.
Maybe it was just sun bleach from spending all that time on California beaches or something.
Maybe. But anyway, so Adam West is back as Batman, Burt Ward is back as Robin, and as I said, I think I hit everyone. It was Green Lantern, Shazam / Captain Marvel. Bad habit. The Flash, the Huntress, Black Canary, Hawkman. Am I missing anyone?
I think that covers it for the heroes.
The heroes? And I do love, in the opening, they give this roll call and they give you just a tiny bit of information, because they're not assuming that you know who all these heroes are. And then we also have some version of the Legion of Doom here. So it's being run by Mordru, who I only have the very smallest recognition of, because I feel like he hasn't been around in a long time.
It's not a name or costume or anything that I recognize at all. I actually at one point wondered if this was something they made up for the show, and I thought, why would they just make him up for the show? He must just be an obscure character from back in the day. Yeah, I mean, he was a thing because I recognize him, but I just feel like he has not lasted the test of time, and so I'm like, God, yeah, I don't really know him. But he heads up this team of bad guys. We get Frank Gorshin back as the Riddler. So he came back, but we also get Solomon Grundy, the Weather Wizard, Sinestro, Giganta, Dr. Savannah, and I think that's it. That sounds right as well.
So, again, this is why I had to own this, because I was at some point in the 70s, there was a live-action version of a lot of DC characters and some really obscure ones. I've got to see this. So, live-action Giganta. And did you notice when they did the little roll call and they, gave, just, again, a little info? So, for the villains, they didn't do it during the opening credits. They had Riddler taking roll call. And he said, for Solomon Grundy, spawned from a swamp, this zombie, blah, 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 blah. And you go, oh, okay, Solomon Grundy. But for Giganta, he said something about a gorilla who was, turned into a human via an evolution machine.
This is all new to me. I don't know Giganta as a character very well.
I had never heard that about Giganta before.
Well, of course, he also claimed she was 7 feet tall, and yet Robin was almost eye to eye with her too. So,
yeah. So it was just it was because most of their little backstories, I went, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like Sinestro, he said something like the arch nemesis of the Green Lantern with his very own yellow power ring. You go, yeah, of course, that's Sinestro. But when he said Giganta was a gorilla who'd been turned into a woman, I was like, wait, what? Is that a thing? DC fans out there who are more knowledgeable than I, is that a thing? Was Giganta a gorilla who got turned into a person? That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I've read more than 2 or 3 books with her in it. And outside of that, the only real experience I have with her is Public Enemies.
Yeah. I mean, I knew her from like Super Friends and stuff, but you're right. It's not like I've read many arcs with her, but I don't
even remember her in any episodes of Super Friends I watched. Of course, it's been a minute since I've watched those, to be fair. So,
and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But do you know where you could catch up on them?
I don't know. I wish there was some sort of an app or something that would give me access to that.
If there was only an app that you were paying for already.
Now, if I just had the time to sit down and watch all that, along with all the crap I have on my DVR, it's a wonder I can't get to a movie theater.
And the beautiful thing is the DC Universe app has every season of Super Friends, which is magical.
The stuff that I watched, I think, was right before it phased into Superpowers.
Okay.
Whenever that was. Early 80s, I guess.
Yeah, probably. There were so many iterations, but they're fun. I mean, you watch them and you're like, wait, what? Like Batman's on Mars fighting aliens? Okay. They're weird, but they're fun. So, so again, a lot of characters in this here, The Challenge. So this one is interesting because this one is more of like a superhero story. And the one that comes after, the roast, is literally, it's a roast. It's like the roast of the superheroes. So there's
roasts are amazing, and I love roasts for the most part. Like the Comedy Central roast, I don't care who they're roasting, I want to watch it because some of those things are really hilarious. But I really want to watch that now, so we'll have to make sure we get that on the docket soon.
And we shall. So anyway, I guess before we get into all the nitty gritty and the wonder that is this special, since this is your first time watching it, Jamie, please tell me, how did you enjoy it? How did your son enjoy it? And where do you stand on The Challenge?
It was pretty funny. I mean, I don't know how much of it was intended to be funny, but I'm sure some of it was intended to be funny. There were a couple things that my son and I were like laughing on each other's shoulder. We couldn't, take it. It was so funny. But I dug it. I mean, I think it knows what it is for the most part. I mean, I don't think they're trying to. I don't think they're trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes and say, okay, this is going to be something super cool, serious superhero stuff, and it winds up being, like you say, like a comedy variety show kind of a thing. I mean, it knows what it is. It doesn't really make an apology for it, and I'm sure not going to apologize for enjoying it. If it's not to your sense of humor or something, I get that, I guess. Or if you think it's just too cheesy to handle, I get that too. But for the most part, I really dug it. And even especially for the age that it was made, the time that it was made, I'm kind of impressed with the costume designs of this. Mm-hmm. And even some of the makeup. Like, I think Grundy looked fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to say the same thing. Like, the costumes, they're super faithful, but they're
not.
They didn't have a huge budget. Exactly.
Yeah, we're not talking about NASA material spacesuits like they talk about in some of these movies nowadays, or the highly textured stuff that we see in the DCEU, or high tech stuff like we see with Iron Man in the Marvel universe or anything like that. I mean, it's just a bunch of guys and gals in tights that it's sewn up by, I don't know, somebody's grandma that was on the production crew for all I know, but you look at them, you know who they are. I mean, you're not second guessing any of the stuff.
Sure.
So I think they looked really good, all things considered.
They look good, all things considered, exactly. But I agree with you. I think Grundy just looks good. Like, his makeup, he looks exactly like he should, and I think he looks great. And the other ones, you go, okay, especially like some of their masks are really cheap.
Yeah, they're Woolworth's dime store or Halloween masks for the most part.
And yeah, so the costumes are they're the Halloween costume versions of these costumes, but still faithful.
Perfect. That's perfect right there. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
But Grundy, the makeup on him, he looks great.
I thought Sinestro's costume looked pretty good too, considering. But
I actually thought the Sinestro casting was pretty good. Like, I'm like, oh, that guy, that looks like a live action Sinestro. Right. If you're not going to make him red with a big head, like the more humanoid version before they aliened him up so much. Like, I'm like, that looks like Sinestro.
I really think I don't think I would second guess any of the people I was looking at, with the possible exception to Huntress, because something about her coloring looked more pink than like that deep purple or darker colored hue.
It was pink.
But, once I see the mask up close and the crossbow in her hands, I probably would have put 2 and 2 together with it. But Savannah was the only other one I second guessed, because I thought, is that supposed to be Hugo Strange? Because I'm not real familiar with Savannah either. So, that wasn't their fault. That was mine for lack of recognition to the character. Weather Wizard, I would have spotted him because of the scepter and the general design of the costume. So, yeah, I think they did a great job with what they were working with.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's just the thing, is like, you've got to put it in context. And I remember, I think the first time I saw it, I even thought, I was like, God, like why did they make this? Like, what was the goal? Like this, how did this happen? Because it's very random. It's very bizarre. And then I kind of understood the context of like, oh wait, and learning about it. And, in our other shows and Real Fans, we talked about the Paul Lynde Halloween special, and it like allowed me to like learn more about just variety TV in the 70s. And then you start thinking about that, and then you watch this and you go, oh, that's what they were going for. They were going for a spin on the variety show, but using these well-known characters that they were already making money from with their cartoons. And you go, oh, now I kind of get what they were after. You're right. It's funny, but it's meant to be. It's obviously meant to be. I mean, you've got a scene where Sinestro is in drag reading the fortune of Green Lantern. It knows what it's doing. It's not trying to be taken seriously. It's ridiculous. And the fact that there's the laugh track, it has that variety show format. They didn't do any musical numbers, but I'm actually kind of surprised, because it would have been very in line with what entertainment was in the late 70s and what this show was kind of going for, as if there had been some musical numbers randomly. But it was like there were these little sketches with each of the characters, like little funny, silly sketches that you went from one to one to one to one, and then there was sort of like an overarching story.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't catch it if you mentioned it when you were talking about the history of it. Did this air in primetime on NBC or?
Yeah, as far as I can tell.
That's the part that confuses me. I would have thought that this would have been better served putting this out for like a Saturday morning, like, a capper for the cartoon block that they're going to do or something. Cartoons started winding down around 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. Put it in that time slot so the kids are seeing it and the adults are out of bed and maybe watching it with them or something. The primetime angle with this is sort of puzzling to me. Like today I see it because superhero stuff is so mainstream, but in 1978, or 79, I guess is when it aired. It copyrighted for 78. But anyway, I don't know that superheroes were mainstream enough to carry anything in primetime. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
totally. I mean, and maybe it didn't do well, and that's why you didn't see any more of them. But I think that's what they were going for. But yeah, as the best I can tell, is it aired in primetime, because it said it preempted a show called Project UFO.
Oh, I guess if you think about it in hindsight, this would have came out like right after Superman the movie came out, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're right, because Superman the movie came out Christmas of '78.
There we go. I guess that explains it. That thing steamrolled the box office, so they were probably trying to hop right on that bandwagon, now that I think about it.
Yeah, and this was January of '79, so yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that. But it is interesting that like you've got Batman and Robin up front, but no Superman, which I kind of get because you're right, the movie just came out. But like to do Huntress and Black Canary but no Wonder Woman is surprising. But I guess, it could have been the same time as Linda Carter.
That would have been 77 that she was out. So, yeah, I mean, she still would have been on the air at this time.
Well, then there you go.
But how amazing would this have freaking been if they would have got Linda Carter and Christopher Reeve in this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The only problem is Linda Carter was on, I think she was on ABC. So it would have been different.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong with that, for all I know.
A boy can dream. What can I tell you?
So yeah, she was on from 75 to 79. So you're right. It would have been. would have been during the same time. So yeah, they wouldn't have been able to do it. So even then, different versions of the characters were holding back other versions. And yes, this wasn't ABC.
Batman 66 was a CBS show, wasn't it?
No, that was ABC as well.
Was it? Okay. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So it is interesting that it was something of a reunion special of like, oh, you remember these guys from 10 years ago? Here they are, Batman, Robin, and the Riddler. And Batman and Robin's costumes are pretty close, with the exception of Adam West's cowl. The cowl itself looks right, but he's got this floppy neck thing going on that drives you crazy when you watch it.
I just wonder about that, because I saw your little discussion with, I think it was Justin Kowalski on Twitter about that.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was just a thing where Wes said, I'm going to do it, but you're not tucking that cowl in because I want to be able to turn my head and be comfortable. I really wonder if that's what happened with it, because it looks sloppy as heck. But
I know. It's crazy. Robin's costume looks pretty much the same, if a little tighter than it should be. The Batmobile, it is the 60s Batmobile, but it had no logo.
That thing was rougher than a cob, too. I wonder if it was just one that they were like half junked out from the original show and went and dug it out of its crypt somewhere.
Yeah, like I was wondering. I was like,
mess.
I was like, was there a legal issue with maybe that version of the logo, and that's why they had to strip it off, or maybe it was. You're right. Maybe it was in storage for a decade, and they're like, we don't have the money to restore it, so what you see is what you get, and this is it.
Yeah, I mean, the paint looks like crap, and I mean, it just looks really tattered, really bad.
Batman, Robin, and the Batmobile have all seen better days. And the Riddler, so like it was great to see Frank Gorshin back as the Riddler, but his costume was not from the show. They obviously just made a new one because it was so cheaply made. Like you could see that they had just stitched these question marks on the leotard. They left the purple off, so it was just black and green. His gloves looked like they bought them from a hardware store. And I swear I saw the little like flap in his crotch so he could go to the bathroom.
I wasn't paying attention to any of these details.
I didn't mean to be, but like he was sitting with his legs up spread, and I was like, wait, that looks like the little thing that's in my underwear that, like you can use.
Well, look, since we're talking about Mr. Gorshin now, I'm going to say he's not exactly what you'd call as svelte as he was back in the run of the 60s Batman TV show. But by God, was he giving it all for this. I mean, totally. He was not phoning it in. And I mean, he was hammy and it was silly and whatnot. But I really felt like he put a lot of effort into what he did in this show.
Oh, totally. And I feel like he always did. I feel like Frank Gorshin never phoned it in. He was always having fun. He was always going for it. And the same thing here. Like he's a highlight, because I'm sure I can just imagine, being a fan, like if we watched the show in the 60s being like, oh my God, they're back. And just being able to see at least these three actors back in these roles was probably something super exciting. And to see, again, Frank Gorshin having a blast, it just makes you feel good.
In the 80s, didn't they do this again with something called like Return to the Batcave or something like that?
That was in the 2000s.
Was it really?
Yeah, we'll have to review it someday. It was in like maybe 2001 or 2.
I was going to say it had to have been the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was like 2001 or 2. I have that on DVD as well. That
Is
should
that
be
on DC Universe?
It's not, but it should be.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a TV movie that was like, it told the story, the backstory of the Batman 60s show, but it was all done in flashback. And in the present, it was Adam West, Burt Ward, Frank Gorshin, and Julie Newmar. And it was super silly because, like, in the present, like, Adam West and Burt Ward were, like, getting clues and stuff, and then you find out it was Frank Gorshin. So, like, the present story was, like, super fictionalized and silly and campy, but then through that, they did flashbacks to kind of tell you the story of the show.
I have just the vaguest memory of it because I watched it one time when it first aired, and then I never watched it again after that. So I'm running on like a 17-year-old memory of this. So
yeah, Yeah, it was called Back to the Batcave, and then it was like The Misadventures of Adam and Burt or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. It sounded like not the same concept, but along the same lines of, a while later they got back together again and said, hey, let's do this one more time kind of thing.
So it was in 2003, Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Burt. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of their last hurrah because Gorshin passed away not long after this. And then, of course, we had Adam, Burt, and Julie until we lost Adam last year. Last year? 2 years ago? Whatever.
Was it toward the beginning of last year, maybe?
Could have been.
Yeah, anyway. So, Gorshin, I thought he was fantastic in this just because, I mean, he knows what he's doing here. He's not trying to turn it into Shakespeare or anything, even though he does make the reference to Shakespeare about, like, if Shakespeare had my mind, who knows what he would have accomplished or something like that.
Yeah.
I
think they call that a running gag.
Yep. And then, jumping around, because this is what I do on podcasts, right? The bit where he's doing like the Sigmund Freud thing with Captain, I'm calling him Captain Marvel. His mama named Captain Marvel. I'm going to call him Captain Marvel. I was giggling my butt off the entire time during that. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous, but I was just giggling myself silly about it.
Oh, it's so dumb. But again, it's like these little sketches, right? They write a little sketch where the Riddler's pretending to be a psychiatrist with Captain Marvel, and Sinestro is dressed as a fortune teller with Green Lantern, or Solomon Grundy is working at the gas station and intercepting the different heroes. Like, it's all these silly little bits. But again,
I
like, it's
actually
meant
had to do
to
a
be.
double take on the Sinestro one because at first I thought, is that Jamie Farr? Just like at certain angles you looked at him with the nose and everything, and of course dressing in drag was kind of his thing on MASH. So
right,
I thought maybe they got him to do that for the show for some reason, and then I realized, oh, okay, I see what they're doing now. I wasn't quite on the uptake with it to that point, but once I realized what was going on, I was like, okay, I get it now. So
right, I mean, and much like we were talking about with the costumes, this was made on the cheap, obviously. They do what they can. And again, the costumes are accurate. They're just spandex, essentially. And they seemed like they were thrown together in a week or two. And so it was fun to just see how they were going to show these heroes' powers without a budget. So like Green Lantern, who is, budgetarily like one of the most intensive ones because that ring can do a lot of things. But I love how, in the comics, Green Lantern can fly. And in this one, he just kind of points the ring to himself and disappears. He can just teleport via ring.
Which, frankly, makes more sense to me. But, I mean, I get what you're saying.
And, I mean, they do a little thing with Shazam / Captain Marvel. They do a little thing with him flying. But Hawkman, who's, like, flying is his big thing, they don't even try. They're like, no, that we can't do that. So forget it. So Hawkman always just kind of takes off and lands from off screen.
There's no way they could get cables that would hold that mass of a body. I'm telling you, that guy was freaking stacked. Jesus, his arms were bigger than my thighs. And that's saying something.
Yeah. But I was amused by that he was like, ah! And I'm like, Hawkman's not an actual hawk. Do you guys know that? Like, he's a man. But, okay, it's all good. But yeah, probably your first live action Hawkman.
I can't claim to have seen a Hawkman before that, so.
And like the Flash, all they did was they, did the thing where like he would pose, they would probably like pause the camera, he would move again, they'd record for a second, pause it, he'd move again. So it was like they didn't do much with him. I feel like they didn't quite know what to do with the Flash.
Exactly. Of any of the characters that were in this show, I would say he's the one that got shortchanged the most.
Yeah. Him and Huntress probably. Huntress doesn't get a lot to do.
Yeah, because I don't think
either.
she even gets a line of dialogue, does she?
I don't think so. I think you're right. She's just kind of there. They wanted another female hero, but they didn't really know what to do with her.
It is an interesting choice that they pulled Huntress. I mean,
it is, because in this time, Huntress couldn't have been that big or well known.
I want to say her first appearance might have been in the 50s or 60s, but it's one of those ones where, they evolved from the oh gosh, I can't remember the years, like Silver Age to whatever age, and I guess Silver to Bronze Age maybe, and altered the character enough, like altered backstories and everything like that. Like, like technically Batwoman's first appearance was in like 1955 or whatever it was, but then they redid her with Kate Kane and that sort of thing. I feel like that same thing happened with Huntress. So
yeah, it was a very different Batwoman.
Right.
But the best hero in the entire special is Marsha Warfield in the phone booth.
Oh my Lord. I was dying. First of all, I find her hilarious anyway.
Oh, she's awesome.
Because, back in the Night Court days, she was my stuff. I mean, I loved her on that show. I actually loved almost everything about that show. But, yeah, she had me cracking up.
She is the unsung hero of this special. So if you've not seen this special and you were just listening to us talk about it, number one, it tickles me to no end that 70% of the action of the special all takes place at a gas station. Probably just because it was close to the studio, and they're like, yeah, sure. And I think that they didn't even bother changing the signage because it said Calabasas. It was like Calabasas Auto or something. But like, yeah, so Solomon Grundy is in disguise working at this gas station and like intercepting the heroes. He intercepts Batman and Robin, has a fight with them. He ends up capturing Hawkman and Black Canary. And while all this is going on, Marsha Warfield, who is best known from Night Court, and I had to check to make sure it was her, but I'm like, I'm like, it's got to be. I know that voice. She's watching the whole thing from the phone booth and like giving the play-by-play to her friend, and it's pretty hysterical.
Yes, it is. I don't even remember exactly how she said it, but it was something like, "Oh, child, you remember that one I was telling you about? Yeah, well, he's talking to God now, and girl, God's talking back," or something like that. I lost it when that happened.
But he says something about Robin, like, "Oh, he's with a little boy in short shorts and leprechaun boots."
Yes. There wasn't much she was saying that didn't have me cracking up. She was really, really good.
Yeah. And so as all this stuff is happening at the gas station, which is hysterical, like the fight with Solomon Grundy and then later on with Hawkman and Black Canary, like this gas station's across the street from like an outdoor restaurant. And did you notice like in the background, like there was just a dude in like a red shirt watching them shoot? It was like they didn't even clear the area. So like when it cuts to that angle, you like just see people eating in this restaurant in the background. Like it was that low budget. Like they're like, we don't have extras and we're not even going to clear the area. We're just going to shoot. So during the Batman and Solomon Grundy scene, there's like a dude in a red shirt just watching them. And then later on in the next scene, like people are sitting at the tables just eating. It's
no, I
so
didn't catch
weird.
that at all.
Oh yeah. I was very distracted. But yeah, it was crazy.
The thing with Grundy being, Grundy's fighting Hawkman, Grundy's fighting Black Canary, Grundy's fighting Batman. All this stuff going down, and what ultimately bests him at the gas station is a tire throwing contest with Captain Marvel.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, because Captain Marvel shows up as well.
It kind of makes me want to see who would actually win a fight between Captain Marvel and Solomon Grundy now, but I don't know. I think I have to give it to Marvel in that one. But.
I think so too. I think Captain Marvel legit won that tire throwing contest.
By a good 20 yards, from what I'm told.
That's what I hear. They have like this running gag where this couple is trying to have a picnic and they're constantly interrupted by heroes and villains like running through their picnic. So
to which I say, why would you have a picnic set up in the middle of a road? But what do I know?
Yeah. So that's a running gag as well. There's the Weather Wizard posing as a used car salesman trying to sell Batman and Robin a replacement for the Batmobile since the Batmobile is broken.
Now, of any scene in this film that I'm going to have an appreciation for, It's that.
Yeah, go for it.
For anyone who
spoke to you?
doesn't know, this is what I do for a living. I am a pre-owned vehicle selection specialist.
Good.
Yep. So as soon as I saw that banner hanging up in the back, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And, he's the typical cheesy 70s, used car salesman. And, it just hilarity ensues out of all of it. But the biggest hilarity for me in this matter is, you going to tell me a multimillionaire can't afford a $400 Volkswagen?
Right. He only carries $50.
Because he only carries what he can afford to lose? What kind of mess is that?
Yeah, I know.
$50 for a multimillionaire? Man, the times are tough in the last 11 years, huh?
True.
Batmobile's in dire straits and only got $50 in cash. Rough, just rough. But yeah, that whole used car scene had me cracking up. Because that's how, a lot of that mentality was with used car people in that era. He opens the door of the Volkswagen and it falls off. He's like, oh, it's got those breakaway doors, which is a safety feature because if you get in an accident, you can get out really fast. It's like if you've ever seen the movie Used Cars with Kurt Russell, which is an absolute classic. I highly recommend it. And they're like, they open the door to a car and there's like yellow inside the door jambs. Like, did this used to be a taxi cab? No, ma'am, that's yellow primer. They're using that a lot nowadays. So I was just tickled pink by that entire scene.
Yeah. I thought you might like that.
But it actually is my third favorite thing. Because my second favorite thing, and this is what had my son and I dying laughing because he couldn't stop laughing and it was making me laugh because he was laughing so hard. One of those things. When the showdown happened with fortune teller Sinestro and Green Lantern, and, Sinestro blasts the table with his ring and Green Lantern zaps him and he does like the flip over after he gets hit with the energy beam. I thought my son was going to pass out. He was laughing so hard at that.
Oh, really?
Oh, he was just howling. And I was howling because he was howling. It's the funniest thing I've had all week. But my personal favorite thing was the motorcycle, which is kind of an extension of the used car sequence because that's what he bought for the $50. And, the motorcycle has a sidecar in it. So Batman and Robin are in the motorcycle and sidecar. And at some point, and you just kind of see this coming, the sidecar separates. But the hilarious part of it is eventually Batman gets in the sidecar with Robin and they just keep showing scenes of this thing. And this is one of those things that appeals to my stupid funny bone. Is when they show things in like sped up fast motion. I don't know why that cracks me up, but it does. So like these two are like cruising around in this sidecar in the sped up fast motion camera work. And I was cracking up at that. That was the most amazing thing I've seen in so long.
It was insanity.
I mean, everything about this show is pure insanity. I mean, the water chase at the end, the final action sequence there. I mean, that's where the budget of the entire thing was at, I think.
Right.
Renting out the 3 jet skis, the paddle boat, and the canoe.
Yes, I know, right? So yeah, that's where it all culminates. Like they all decide that, they're going to leave any information at this gas station because, there was a world without cell phones. And so that seemed like a good place for.
And some rude woman wouldn't get off of the payphone. So
I know. Come on, Marcia. Show some courtesy. And yeah, somehow it all ends up in a jet ski chase in the middle of a lake. So you get Mordru, Batman, and Robin like on jet skis chasing each other around, and then you randomly cut to the other superheroes in other various aquatic vehicles. So yeah, Flash is in like a kayak, and Huntress and Black Canary are in a pedal boat. Because they all lose their superpowers, by the way. I forgot to tell you.
Because of Savannah's lemonade.
Yeah, Savannah has a lemonade stand, and he guilt trips every superhero into buying lemonade. But he's like pretending to be like a little kid.
With
but he's
gray
an
hair
old man.
And such.
Yeah, but so it's a little creepy where he's like talking like a little kid when he's obviously an old man. But yeah, so they all lose their powers, which is why I guess they all end up in these random boats and such.
And they never established that they got their powers back either, did they?
No, I think they lost them forever. That's it. That's why we never got another special.
I was going to say, that's why the next episode was the roast, because you couldn't have another superhero battle.
Exactly. They couldn't go out and have another adventure. They're all powerless, so they might as well sit around and make fun of each other.
Harsh.
Yeah. It's way harsh, Ty. So, yeah, when I was watching this, like, it's not quite water skiing, but that's what it felt like. It was like the grand water skiing finale with Batman, Robin, and Mordru. I was like, man, 70s were awesome.
Oh, the drugs. Yeah.
And then it does lead to like kind of a more of a traditional fight in the bad guy's lair. Because the whole thing is like they've got a doomsday device that's going to blow everyone up in the world except for them in an hour. So the special took place in real time because when it starts, the 60 minutes starts counting down and it's a 1 hour special.
I don't think that real-time thing quite lines up at the end with that action sequence because I'm pretty sure that went on for more than 1 minute. And I'm pretty sure when they started fighting, it was at about 1 minute. I could be wrong on that, but that's my recollection of it. You know, this thing I can't remember that I just watched 2 hours ago.
Right. Well, and fun fact, like the countdown on the bomb at the end of The Dark Knight Rises and how its time kept changing was an homage to this special.
Fun fact. I did not know that.
Yeah, now you know. Tell your friends. But yeah, so you're right. Mine might not line up completely, but I appreciate the attempt at what they were going for. So yeah, they get here to turn off the Doomsday device, and it ends up with a big heroes versus villains fight. And this would have been the time to do the giant, the giant words of pow, bam, kapow.
I was going to make that comment. That's how low the budget was in this thing. You couldn't even get the Biff Pow Bam balloons on there.
I know. And also maybe it was a legal thing or who knows. But like you're like, I the whole time I kept waiting for them just out of habit. And I was like, oh, I guess they're not doing it. So they just get random punches and hits and trips and things. And they defeat one of them. I can't remember which one, but you know, like the same way you would defeat someone in like 5th grade by having Robin crouch behind him and then just pushing him over.
Right.
Pushing the bad guy over Robin as he's crouching behind him.
I want to say that was Weather Wizard. They did that too.
Yeah, it could have been. Can't quite remember.
Not important.
But yeah, so yeah, that's your big finale. And because we were jumping around, we didn't even give any credit to Retired Man.
Oh, you mean the Crimson Cyclone, or
yeah, the Scarlet Cyclone.
Scarlet Cyclone. Thank you.
Right. So
that was really obscure.
It's so weird.
I have no idea what the F anybody was thinking doing that whole thing. And then he's like your I guess stinger, for lack of something better to call it, at the end of the show too. So I guess decrepit old men are funny or something. I don't know. I don't know what they were going for with him exactly.
I think that's it. I think they were like, oh, it's funny. He's old. Get it? Isn't it funny that this superhero's old?
The one thing he did say that did kind of get a snort out of me was, you know, they gave him the watch for some kind of a commemorative gift or whatnot. And Batman's like, read the inscription. And he looks at it and he says, Bolivar. No. Read the other side.
Yeah.
Bolivar's like a watch brand or something, you know. I got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah. I will say one of my favorite lines is there was a point where they're, all the villains are talking about destroying the world or whatever and the Doomsday device. And the Riddler says something about like, oh, you know, like my moment of triumph is at hand. And someone's like, yeah, but we'll be the only ones who survive. And the Riddler's like sad because he goes, oh, no one will be around to know that. No one will be around to witness my triumph. And I was like, oh, that's actually like very Riddler-ish. It's like
exactly. That was a great Riddler moment, I thought.
Yeah, where I'm like, yeah, he wants the credit. He's like that. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Just it was a bit of a throwaway moment, but I appreciated it.
No, I totally get that. I'm 100% with you there. That was quite possibly character-wise the most accurate moment in the entire thing.
Right. So, yeah, I liked that. And then you're right, like Retired Man, he's at the very, very beginning. Because at the beginning, the heroes are sitting around their headquarters, which they don't call it the Hall of Justice or anything. They just make it some sort of vague headquarters.
I somehow got the idea that they were in the Batcave because they all just came trotting out there when they got in the Batmobile to go about their business.
Yeah, I guess you're
Obviously,
right.
it doesn't really look like a traditional Batcave layout that we're accustomed to.
Right. Yeah, you're right, though. That could have been what they were going for, is that they're supposed to be in the Batcave. And I did get a kick out of seeing them all run out of that kind of cave entrance.
I like how Flash is just running at a casual little jaunt. It's so perfect.
And just like when you see them on stage, it's a little easier to go with it. And then as soon as you see them in the quote unquote real world, it just amps up the ridiculous. And so when they're all running out of the cave, that's kind of the first time you see them out in the real world. And it's just a little jarring. But yeah, so when it starts off, they're giving Retired Man his retirement gift, birthday gift.
Something.
I think it's pretty mean that when a hero turns a certain age, they change his name from his superhero name to Retired Man.
That is kind of cold-blooded.
It's really mean, Like when Superman died, they didn't rename him Dead Man. But yeah,
Jesus,
you're right. Like
man, I was mid-drink when you said that.
When Batman broke his back, they didn't call him Wheelchair Man.
He's trying to kill me. Excuse me. Wow. I should have known better than to drink in the middle of that. I should have known.
Anyway, then yes, like after they defeat the bad guys, you're right. They don't resolve them getting their powers back. So we're just going to assume it wears off. It's temporary. But yeah, like the final button, I was kind of waiting for some sort of resolution, but instead it's just Retired Man wandering into the empty lair of the bad guys, kind of being like, well, I made it. Like that was it. And you're like, okay, great. The end. Have a good night, everybody.
So weird. Like I can go with a lot of the other stuff that's happening in this show as guano loco as it is. But there's something about the Scarlet Cyclone. I just don't get it. It just does not click with me.
I mean, they thought it was way funnier than maybe it was. Maybe it was hysterical in 1979. I don't know.
I guess.
I mean, judging by the laugh track, it was funny.
Maybe I just don't find making fun of old people hilarious, because I remember in high school, a bunch of my friends, or just after high school maybe, were laughing about an Adam Sandler album where it just kept talking about old man balls or something like that. And they're like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, are you serious right now? So
yeah,
maybe it's just my sense of humor.
Well, especially because they didn't really tell any jokes, Like it was.
Well, the flip side of it is when the Jackass guys dress up as old people and do their stuff, I find that utterly hilarious. So I don't know.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I guess they didn't even. It's because they didn't maybe push it far enough. I guess we were just supposed to laugh because he was old, but they didn't make any real jokes about it.
Yeah, they didn't.
Just was kind of a thing. But yeah, so that's how it ends, which is, again, I mean, it just makes you want to hurry up and watch the next one, because you want to know what happens to Retired Man, because spoilers, you'll see him again.
I did get, my son and I were upstairs in the bedroom. My wife was downstairs. My son and I went up to the bedroom and watched it on the laptop. And she came upstairs and sent him to bed a little over halfway through it and sits down, and I got the customary, what in the hell are you watching out of her? So,
and what are you showing my son? You're like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Porn. I'm watching porn, honey.
Might have been less embarrassing, but no, I did get a kick out of this. I legitimately did. I'm kind of sad I waited as long as I did to watch it. And again, I know this is not quality programming by any sense of the imagination, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the mood I'm in right now, but just something about it clicked with me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good. I mean, me too. You've gotta go in knowing what it is and appreciate it for what it is. It's this weird little time capsule of the 70s of them trying to do something that didn't quite work, but it's like a really fascinating little footnote, you know? Like, and again, to see the live action versions of these characters circa 1979 is kind of just fun in and of itself. So, yeah, we got some reactions on Twitter when I announced that this is what we were going to do. And, one of our listeners was like, I couldn't even get through it. And I was like, well, I had no problem getting through it because I knew what I was watching. Like,
I think it was Joe Forno that said that.
I think it was, yeah.
Just a little bit concerned when I was like, oh, God, what did I sign up for here? And, 5 minutes into it, I'm like, you know what? I get why people were switched off by this, but I'm good with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, if you want an actual action-packed superhero show, yeah, this is not it. This is something else entirely. So go in with eyes wide open. There's
not a lot of earnestness to this. It's just a ham bone special, basically. So
yeah, it's just a big old slice of 70s cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
So grab some crackers and enjoy.
Right. You got it. Roll with it for what it is. Don't take unnecessary expectations into it, and I think you probably have a good time with it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Get some buddies over. Like, I feel like it would be fun to watch with friends.
Oh, this would be an excellent drinking show. It really would. You could MST3K the heck out of this thing and just have a 40 minutes with fantastic time with it. Right. So check it out, especially if you got DC Universe. It's good, clean fun, and also really freaking weird. So Legends of the Superheroes, The Challenge, the first episode. Check that out. It's on your DC Universe app, and it's on DVD for probably pretty cheap now because they're giving it away for free essentially. So I do think that it's a fun little visit. It's not something you're probably going to watch all the time, but you should watch at least once. And when we get around to it, we will do the sequel. We will do the roast, and we will have a wonderful time as we do it. I'm looking it up now. Legends of the Superheroes is on Amazon for $10.70. There you go. Worth every penny. It is. I would totally, even if I didn't already own this, I would be on Amazon right now ordering that. But hey, I bought it sight unseen, and I didn't regret it. But again, I only watched it one time, so take that as you will. Anyway, this is not something, as much as I did thoroughly enjoy it, I mean, I really did get a kick out of it. It's pretty painless, and it's really short, by comparison to, say, like a feature-length film or something. It's not something I imagine myself watching more than once every couple of years, if that, Right. It's 45 minutes. Like you said, it's very easy to watch, but yeah, it's more one of those of like, if you've got a fellow fan and they're over and you're like, have you ever seen Legends of the Superheroes? And they're like, what is that? And you're like, oh, sit down. Just wait. Yeah, perfect. That is the exact way to approach this show. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Check it out. You've got it. Now, let's check in with you fine folks as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Derek. What is? A letter for me.
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first email here is from Evan Baker. It says, hey, Andy and Jamie and anybody else. I've recently been reading Batman Eternal. It's a great run, but my question is, if you had to just do like a quick cast of the Rogues Gallery, including Riddler, Joker, Bane, Freeze, Catwoman, and Ivy, who would it be? They could be alive or dead, new or old. I just want to know who your picks are. Love the show, Evan Baker. Well, Evan, thank you for the message. And we did a casting, it's been a couple years now, but we did a casting show where we did pick our choices for these people. So I don't know where we are right now. A quick cast. I assume you mean actor, because Living Dead. Yeah, so I assume you mean actors for these folks. Most of my choices are probably going to be who we did for that fan casting episode. But Jamie, yeah, well, Joker, Riddler, Bane, Freeze, Catwoman, and Ivy.
I still maintain that Eva Green would be an outstanding Catwoman.
I think she'd be great too.
The other ones, I don't even remember who I picked anymore, honestly. It's been a minute, and I'm old, and I don't remember things anymore. So
yeah, well. Joker's tough because we've got 2 live-action Jokers right now, and it's weird to... I guess I could try and think of another one.
The Willem Dafoe Joker thing's been getting traction, about people, what if we would have got Willem Dafoe as the Joker? And, that, if you look at him, it really does work. It really does.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think he's too old. He's way too old now.
At this point, he is, but he's talking at any time, living or dead. So
that's true. That's true. You're right. He's saying at any point.
If we'd have got Willem Dafoe's Joker 10 or 15 years ago, then yeah, that would have been amazing.
Well, Patrick Stewart should have been Mr. Freeze. Can we agree on that?
I don't think I would put up any argument against it.
Again, not now, but if we're talking any point in time, yeah, that's the way they should have gone.
I don't like Dave Bautista as an actor. I don't think he's particularly good, although his turn in Blade Runner 2049 was relatively impressive, but I'm going to credit more Denis Villeneuve for that than I am him. The talk of him playing Bane in the Suicide Squad 2 because of the relationship with Gunn, this is all just speculation that people are throwing out there. I can't quite get that out of my head now.
Yeah, I don't think that would be bad. My Bane choice was Josh Brolin, but that was before he played Cable and Thanos, and so I'm like, maybe that's just one too many.
Yeah, he's kind of busy on that end.
But no, I could see Bautista. I remember I liked Edward Norton as Riddler.
Yeah, that really works, I think. I know some people have tossed out the idea like Leo DiCaprio as Riddler, and you know what? Today that might actually work better than it would have 10 or 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm. On our casting episode, I also picked Denzel as Mr. Freeze. I think he could have been a great Mr. Freeze.
Yes, that would be excellent. I would go with that.
Ivy, way back in the 90s, I thought Demi Moore could have been a great Poison Ivy.
Yep. I still think Natalie Dormer should be Ivy today.
Oh, yeah, totally. For present, I'm right there with you. Catwoman, Kate Beckinsale was my choice.
I can roll with that.
Stand by that. So there you go, Evan. There's some choices for you. I think way back when, Cary Grant should have been Batman.
Did you see that poster? I'm sure you did because I think he made it. No, I think he made it for Please Rewind. I don't know if you ever saw it. That Julian Chan made a poster that was Photoshopped with Jimmy Stewart as Batman and gosh, I can't even remember the rest of the cast for it, but it was really amazing because it was done in that old 30s cinema style.
Ah, cool.
Oh, it was really good stuff.
Nice. All right. Well, next message here is from Alec Metallic. It says, "Hey, Alec," or "Hello, Alec here. I wanted to ask your thoughts on my choice of villains for the villains if there are 3 Batman movies: Clayface, Mr. Freeze, and the Riddler." Alec, thanks for the message. Jamie, what do you think? If there was a trilogy and those were your 3 villains?
I have no opposition to it because I think one of them's never been done and 2 of them have never been done exactly right. So
I concur with that. Yeah, for me, Clayface, I don't know if that's enough for a whole movie, but I like him, but he's just, I feel like he's better supporting. Mr. Freeze and Riddler, I'm all about, but you guys know that. That's no secret. But heck yeah, like I'd give all 3 of these a shot. Because you're right, they all need their due. Cool. Next message here is from Andrew Anderson. It says, "Hey, Andy, I recently discovered Holy BatCast and the RF4RM podcasts. It's nice to have found someone who loves the character as much as me, maybe more. Definitely more, Andrew. Do you have a tattoo? I don't know if you do. I'm kidding. It's not a contest. Okay. It said, I got hooked in 1989 by Keaton's Batman. It's the only movie I've ever watched multiple times, 7 at the theater. I wanted to let you know that I recently listened to Holy BatCast episodes 9 and 10 covering Batman 89 while training for a half marathon. Listening to you guys share the same feeling and level of appreciation for the movie as me was such an enjoyable experience. Running 13 miles is so much easier than you think when you're geeking out with fellow Bat fans. I wanted to let you know how much I appreciated and enjoyed those episodes in particular, and to say thanks and to keep up the good work. Sincerely, Andrew Anderson." Andrew, nice to meet you. I'm glad you found us. Welcome. That's awesome. No, hey, glad to entertain you while you were training for the half marathon. And yeah, Batman 89, man, that's where it's at. That's...
Yeah. 2 things to throw in on that. Number 1, I'm going to take your word for it on the 13-mile run thing, because that ain't happening. And number 2, you got me by 1 on Batman 89. I only saw it 6 times in theaters.
And you both beat me on Batman 89. I only saw it 3 times in theaters. But in my defense, I was 10 years old and it wasn't really up to me. So I had to talk grown-ups into taking me. Otherwise, I would have definitely seen it 8 times.
I was 14. I was bumming rides too, so.
Yeah, well. Anyway. It's not a contest.
That's true. It's not.
All right. And now I just need to find that email that I just had. Where the heck was it? Here we go. Next email is from our pal Matthew Malecki. It says, "Hey, Andy and Jamie, maybe Brendan." No, not Brendan. Just us. He says, "I just finished watching the entire series of Birds of Prey on DC Universe. It's definitely got some issues, but I wouldn't say I loved it, but I had fun with it. Have you guys ever watched it? What did you think? And any chance of reviewing it on the show?" Matthew, thank you for the message. Yes, I have watched it. I've watched it twice. I watched it when it was new, first run, in I think it was 2002. Then I watched the entire series again when it was released on DVD. And I have not watched it a 3rd time yet on DC Universe, but eventually. I agree with you. I like it. I can't quite say I loved it, but I really liked it. I wish it would have continued. I had fun with it too. And yeah, we would definitely do it on this show at some point. Jamie, have you watched Birds of Prey?
I've seen probably maybe the first 3 or 4 episodes of it. And I watched it just because I am absolutely in love with Dina Meyer, or Dinah Meyer, however her name's pronounced.
Yeah, Dina Meyer. Yeah,
well, I've
boy.
loved her since Starship Troopers. So, yeah, it's.
I loved her since 90210 before Starship Troopers. So, just so you know.
Even if I watch this show, and that's not an admission, I wouldn't say it out loud. Okay, so I went over to a friend of mine's house every week and we watched it together. That's the truth. Don't tell anybody. I don't remember her on the show though. But I got in way late, so if she was in the first half of that series run, I wouldn't have known anyway, because I got in on the second half.
Ah, okay.
But anyway, back to Birds of Prey. I liked what I saw, but it was just one of those deals where it was essentially appointment television back then, and my grandmother wasn't recording my TV shows for me anymore, so I just kind of lost track of it and never got back on board.
Right. Yeah, we will have to... See, that's the tricky thing about stuff like that is do we watch the entire season and then do an episode? I guess we do, but that's just a lot of homework. That's 13 hours of homework.
That's some commitment. I mean, I'd be more pro to doing 1 or 2 episodes at a time and doing a mini series of episodes about it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much content. We could literally never have to worry about a topic again on this show, just based on what's on this DC app.
Exactly. So, yeah, we got to figure out the best way to tackle it, but we will tackle it. We have to. It's kind of sort of a Batman show. And our first live-action Harley Quinn. So, all right, next message here is from Chris, the Objective Geek. He says, "Hey, Andy, Jamie, and Brendan below." That's his new name, I guess. Sorry if this question seems too big for the mailbag. I feel like we've gotten this one before. What 4 Batman contributors, whether they're writers, artists, producers, directors, or actors, do you think would be on the Mount Rushmore of Batman? Who's had the most impact on Batman's popularity and success? Which four would be on your personal Mount Rushmore? For success as a whole, I would choose Bill Finger, Frank Miller, Bruce Timm, and Bob Kane, despite taking more credit than he deserved. For my personal, it would be Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy, Christopher Nolan, and Scott Snyder. Thanks for answering the questions, and keep up the great work. I guess it sounds like it's like, what's your objective Mount Rushmore, and what would be your personal Mount Rushmore? Jamie, what do you think? It is a hard question, Chris.
Definitely my personal would be, let's say, let me think about this for about a half a second. Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, Lynn Varley, and Jim Lee.
Okay.
Objectively speaking, Frank Miller, a split face of Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, maybe.
I think that's
because I don't know which one. Those two collaborated so much with it. I don't know which one to give more credit to for it. So since I don't know the answer of which one gets more credit, I'm going to put both of them on the same face. So there'll be like a two-face thing. Boy, it's hard for me not to say Jeff Loeb at this point because, man, he's done some good work with Batman. Certainly Christopher Nolan would be one I would consider for it because I absolutely adore those movies. Heath Ledger. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing with it now.
No, I know it's
definitive answer.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I mean, I think that like for like kind of the more objective one, I think it would be like Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Denny O'Neil, and Bruce Timm, maybe. And then for my personal, I would do like Michael Keaton, Paul Dini. Oh, I don't know.
It's interesting that you have Dini on one and Tim on the other.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of splitting it up just so I can have both, because
I get it. No, that's why I did the two-face answer with O'Neil and Adams.
Cheating. So I'm not doubling up on the two. Christopher Nolan and then Jamie Drewley would be. Yeah, there we go. How about that?
Boy, thank you, sir.
Good question, a tough question, but fun nonetheless. All right, next one is from Stuart Little. You adorable little rodent, you. It says, hey guys, I'm a first-time emailer. I love the show. I have to say, I think you're off base with your claim that Birds of Prey being R-rated doesn't make a lick of sense. If you just took the cast of the characters, you can see why this movie may have an intensity that will warrant such a rating. In general, the fact that the birds all being regular non-superpowered women, I do think it would make sense and be powerful to show them going through the ringer a bit and still persevering, and an R-rated movie has greater freedom to do that. Meaningful violence against female characters, even in an action-adventure setting, is still something there's a lot of sensitivity about. See the controversy over the X-Men Apocalypse poster. It's very rare in movies that they are made in all... It's very rare in movies that are made for an all-ages audience. Furiosa wouldn't have been quite as effective as a female action hero if Fury Road hadn't been R-rated, and allowing her to go through what she did. Why can't we have that for a superhero movie? Take care, Stuart. Stuart, thank you for chiming in and for the message. Jamie, you have the bigger issue with the R rating than I do, so I don't know if you want to respond.
I've got two things to say to that. Number one, my daughters have the entire run of Birds of Prey for New 52, post New 52, and I read everything they did in Rebirth before the series got canceled. There was not one R-rated page in any of it. So I don't believe that you need to make this movie R-rated because there's nothing in the character basis that it's based off of that says that it needs to be. And number two, I'll let you explain to my 13-year-old daughters why they can't go see a movie about characters that they love and read a whole bunch of comics about.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I totally get it. And I mean, for me, I don't have the kids issue, so it's not even that. But I feel like almost every movie out there, there's an R-rated version, there could be a PG-13 rated version, and oftentimes that line is not super defined. So like Deadpool, when they announced it was going to be R-rated, I was like, why? It doesn't need to be. And then I saw it, and I went, okay, I get it. Like, I get what they were going for. I get why they wanted the R rating. They certainly took advantage of the R rating, and I was okay with it. And if they do that with Birds of Prey, and I go, okay, I see the movie they were trying to make, I get why they went R rating. But you also can't convince me that there isn't a great PG-13 version of Birds of Prey out there. So...
Yeah. I've had this discussion until I'm blue in the face with more people than I can count at this point. Everybody's certainly entitled to their opinions, and I'm not saying this won't be a good movie if it's R-rated. I mean, I'm still going to see it either way myself. But what it comes down to with me in thinking about it, and I can't believe that people in the business of wanting to turn these movies into as profitable as they can possibly be don't consider this either, is everybody who says they're okay with the R rating on this film is still going to go see it if it's PG-13. Not everybody who can see the PG-13 version will be allowed to see the R version. That's what it comes down to with me.
Yeah. I get that. So, yeah, of course I'm going to go see it. And again, once I see it, I'll go, oh, okay, now I see why they wanted to make it R-rated. But, you know, do I think it's necessary? I do not. All right, next message here is from Joseph Stewart. It says, hey, Holy BatCast family, I hope all is well. Jason Momoa did an interview and said he already has plans and a storyline for Aquaman 2. What are your predictions for the Aquaman sequel? Oh, man, Jamie, another hard one. You want to take it first, or you want me to make something up?
I don't even want to begin to throw my speculation out there for it because I don't know what's going to happen in the first movie that can lead into the second. So I don't know. My understanding of it is, and I heard this on another show, and whoever's show it was, I'm sorry, it was probably either Suicide Squadcast or Fans Without Borders. We're talking about Momoa apparently went into a DC exec's office and pitched him what the opening for the second movie will be, and they absolutely loved it. That's my understanding of what happened. So I don't know, but I wouldn't even know where to begin to answer that question without having seen the first movie.
Right. Well, it seems to me that the first film, Orm is your main villain and Black Manta is a supporting villain. So I imagine that Black Manta will be left standing at the end of the film. And so Aquaman 2, I feel like, is Black Manta's revenge. As for anything in addition to that, I don't know. 20% more sharks, and Arthur gets a haircut. I think those are probably the biggies.
No hook hand?
No hook hand.
Okay.
No.
You aren't by chance reading Drowned Earth yet, are you?
No.
Well, I do recommend getting around to that because it's been excellent so far. I'm just going to spoil the tiniest little thing for you and say that there is a point, I believe, in the second issue of the series where Black Manta somehow obtains Aquaman's powers, strips him of the powers and takes him for himself. And as he's standing over him after he does it, he just, you can see the smile on his face through his helmet as he's talking to Arthur at this point, and he just says to him, "And you've been wasting all of this talking to fish." It's good. Get on that as soon as you get a chance, which will probably be like 2026 for you.
Yeah, it'll be once I'm retired, man.
Right.
All right, next message is from Stuart Busire. It says, hey guys, it's Stuart from Guernsey. I agree that I think this Christmas you should review Noelle. I listened to the review that Andy did with the guys over at Everyone Loves the Drake for the last couple of years, but I'd love to hear you revisit it and to hear Jamie's take on it as well. I've got another question for Jamie. Are you enjoying the current Deathstroke book? I can't find another podcast that reviews it, so you're the only person I know of that reads it. Did you enjoy Batman vs. Slade? What are your thoughts on the current Arkham story? Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Stuart. All right, I'm taking this one off. Thank you, Stuart, for the recommendation for Christmas. And Jamie, the Deathstroke book.
I'm still really digging that. That's usually one of those that's more toward the top of my reading stack than the bottom. I dig Priest's writing style. I like the way he lays things out. I like how he does dialogue. I like how he does a lot of things, but apparently his style isn't to everybody's taste, which I get that. Not everything's going to work for everyone. But I think the Batman versus Deathstroke thing I thought was good. I think it could have been just a little bit better for my own personal ideas. And as far as this Arkham story arc so far, it's strange, but I'm liking where I think it's going.
All right, cool. Thanks. All right, next message here is from Whistle Red. It says, "Hey, Andy and the Holy BatCast family. I recently saw an interview on YouTube that Michael Keaton did where he talked about a third Batman movie. After Batman Returns, he said he wanted the third movie to be an origin story like Batman Begins, with the movie taking place before the events of Batman 89. Would you have liked Batman 3 to be an origin film taking place before Batman 89 with Tim Burton and Michael Keaton at the helm?" Thank you for the message, Whistle. Yeah, why not? I mean, I'll tell you, I'm more of like a move forward kind of guy than go backwards. I'm not a huge prequel guy. I mean, sure, there are some, but I say keep moving forward. But if they had done it, would I have been mad at it? No, of course not. I'd have been interested to see where they took it. What do you think, Jamie?
I think if they would have done it in such a way where they intercut it for a portion of the movie, or kind of did flashbacks, dare I say, like a better version of Arrow with the island and whatnot, where they went back to like his training and how he came into the mantle of the Batman and whatnot, while still having him in present day dealing with current threats and supervillains and whatnot. I think that would have been pretty solid. But just having the entire thing being him ascending to the cowl, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not going to act like I wouldn't have seen it. I mean, might have been really good. I don't know. But that would have been my preference if that's the approach they were going to take.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. Cool. Next message here is from Mark Jurosevic. It says, "Hey, Holy Bat idea. With the resurgence of Hellboy without Guillermo del Toro at the helm, do you think he'd be interested in directing a Blue Devil movie? He even has his own team, aka Shadow Pact. It'd be right up his alley. Keep casting. Regards, Mark." And then Mark followed up with, "P.S. Better yet, with the supernatural and magic-based focus on Legends of Tomorrow this season, an episode featuring Blue Devil and Shadow Pact would be a natural fit." Mark, thank you. You see, you get it, Mark. You get it. A Del Toro Blue Devil movie, hell yes. And I am still patiently waiting for one of the DC shows, whether it be Legends or whether it be Titans, to pull out the action figure of Blue Devil and make it happen, because there's no reason not. You're right, Legends, it would make perfect sense this season with what's going on. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use him anywhere at this point, I think Legends makes more sense than anybody else, because you can kind of have an open and shut episode, leave it open where he can come back later down the road like they did with Jonah Hex, and, something along those lines. Because, I mean, no disrespect to your second favorite character and all, but I just don't see them using him in a movie or a show like Titans at this point.
Well, you never know. I think a movie's a long shot.
I never would have expected Hawk and Dove to show up on a show, so what do I know?
But they're so good. Yeah. Legends would be perfect. So, anyway.
Have him fight Bebo.
Heck yeah.
Battle
or
of
team
the
up.
Blues.
Team up with Bebo. The Blue Devil, and then Blue Devil and Bebo get their own show.
If you heard that retching sound in the background, that was the sound of Brett Clark puking from that suggestion. He hates Bebo.
Does he hate Bebo?
Does hate Bebo.
Oh, that's sad. All right, next message is from Tommy Sanders. It says, "Greetings, Bat family. If you had a choice to make a documentary like John Schnepp did with The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, which one would it be? Would it be the death of Tim Burton's Batman 3, What Happened, or the death of Batman Unchained, What Happened?" Jamie, what do you think?
Is it too much to ask for both?
I mean, of course we'd want both, but if you could only have one.
Burton's Batman 3.
Yeah, me too. I'm far more invested in the Burton Batverse than the Schumacher Batverse.
I mean, I'm interested to hear an interview with Burton about any movie that he had an idea for at this point, because Sammy Davis Jr. as Brainiac is still wedged in my brain.
Yeah, I know. All right. Sweet. All right, one last one here. It is from Zach. It says, "Hey, Bat Family, I had a question concerning the $60 I spent on the first issue of Batman Damned. I bought it hoping it would increase in value in the coming years, and I was wondering if that was a smart investment, considering the price of the single issue has already skyrocketed. Much love and support. I tell all my friends who feel like they have no one to talk TC with to listen to your podcast and feel like they have a new group of nerds to connect with. Zach Emery." Zach, thank you for the message. $60 on Batman Damned. Damn. I mean, who knows? I don't know. What do you think, Jamie? Is that a smart buy?
I'm not going to promise you it's going to accelerate much from that point, because modern books have a hard time getting over that $50 mark and maintaining for any length of time, unless it's some hole in the wall gem that everybody missed. But like Batman Damned had a good amount of publicity around it because it kicked off Black Label. Of course, the controversy with the Bat-A-Wang, as apparently it's taken the mantle of being called. I just don't know. I mean, we've had these books in the past, like I think All-Star Batman and Robin had some profanity that somehow got out in the book, and they had to recall it. And I think last time I checked, that book was sitting around a $50 or $60 value. There's an issue of, I think it's a Daredevil comic or an Elektra comic, where there's some I don't know how you have unintentional nudity in a freaking illustrated book, but there's like unintentional nudity in there. They recalled that. The last time I checked, it was sitting in the $35 or $40 ballpark. So books like this, I just don't know, because of the print runs and such, that they can maintain much higher values than that in short amounts of time. I can tell you, my local comic book shop had a silent auction, and they were, for the high bidder of the silent auction, they were giving a copy of Batman Damned for it, Batman Damned #1. And all of the proceeds for this, 100%, went to breast cancer research. And I lost my mother and my grandfather both to cancer. So every year around this time of year, I have a tendency of donating a pretty healthy sum of money to various cancer charities and such like that. So I saw this and I thought, Batman, boobs, cancer donation, this is all something that makes perfect sense to me. So I won the auction, and if it makes you feel any better, it was a lot more than $60.
And it went to a good cause.
It did. The way I see it, I just gave to a cancer charity I would have given to anyway and got a free comic book out of it. So
perfect. That's the way to do it. I mean, yeah, I hope for your sake it goes up in value. I'm rooting for you. I did not get a copy, so I'm out of luck, but keep us posted.
The announcement that they weren't going to do a second run of it with the edited nudity out of it did spike up the interest in the general public who didn't have it sitting in their poll list when they got there that day, if that does any kind of justice for it. But again, with print runs as high as it was, I just wouldn't hold my breath that you're going to get into much over the price range that it's at now. I mean, maybe a little bit, but probably not a lot.
Right.
I say that it'll be worth $500 next year. What do I know?
You never can tell, but it's rare that a modern book does become hugely valuable because of print runs and things.
Right. I mean, Overstreet value on Batman New 52 #1 from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo is currently sitting at $75 in Overstreet. It's what it was last year. It's what it is this year.
I have that one.
Well, you're in good shape, because I'm sure you didn't pay $75. I paid $75 for mine. You didn't pay $75 for yours.
I did not. Cool. All right. Well, we're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox, and we are picking up, or we're pushing play on the Wayne Manor answering machine. We're going to check in on some voicemail. So this first voicemail comes from our pal Anthony.
Hello, Jamie and Andy. This is Anthony Morelli again, long-time listener, out from Bolingbrook, Illinois, a.k.a. the True Gotham City, Chicago. First of all, Jamie, I know you kind of iterated this before from another listener calling in, but thank you for Khalil Mack, because it looks like we may be a playoff team as opposed to your Raiders. Anyways, let's get to the question. My question is, with this Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, since we haven't had any kind of info lately about Matt Reeves' movie, do you think by any chance they're waiting to see the success on this Joker movie and then maybe to possibly, if it's a huge hit, to build off a new Batman universe with Matt Reeves' Batman to kind of coincide with this Joker. Just the thoughts, as we haven't heard anything. But thanks again, guys. You make the workday go by a lot faster than it should. Take care, and hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, Anthony, thank you. Hello to Bolingbrook and Chicago. Hey. Thank you for the message, and thank you for the nice words, as well as happy Thanksgiving to you. So, Jamie, there was something sporty in there for you, I assume.
Yeah.
So
Bears fans really like rubbing this one in right now.
Okay.
I'm purposely avoiding Roman Simmons because of this, but that's another story.
I'm a Bears fan.
Well, okay.
Because I'm from Chicago.
Congratulations on getting one of the most amazing defensive players in the last 2 decades.
I was really excited about it because he's really good at sports.
Yeah, I know how much you love the way he throws the ball and stuff.
He's so good at it. Like, I don't understand. These people at my work, they're playing fantasy football. I'm like, it's not that hard. Pick the people who are good at sports, and then you win.
I play fantasy football completely wrong because every year my fantasy football is the Raiders are going 16-0 and the Patriots are going 0-16. I guess I just don't get how this whole thing works.
Anyway, I'm sorry. So
no, it's the Khalil Mack thing. You know, bless you. I wish you and him and your team and all the success in the world. And thanks for the draft picks in return. But please don't ever talk to me about it again because that scab's never going to heal if you guys keep peeling it off. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
And what about, do you think there's this conspiracy of waiting on the Batman movie to see how Joker does?
I find it hard to buy into that only because, as we've talked about before, the way they got Joaquin Phoenix is it's a one-picture deal. It's not a multi-picture deal because he is obviously extremely hesitant to sign a multi-picture deal anywhere for any reason. And I don't think he's one of those guys that even if you threw $25 million at him, he's going to do it. You know, he's not that kind of an actor. At least I don't think he is. So I would think that's an infinitely small percentage chance on that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Actually, I get why people would think that, but at the same time, I think Reeves is doing his thing, and then this is happening in a vacuum, like on its own. Yeah, I just don't think so. I think that, you know, Joaquin Phoenix, he signed up for this one movie. He's doing something crazy. He's stretching his acting chops, and he's doing his thing. And I think that the Reeves Batman film will be separate. But again, I get why you would think it. But when you look at the players involved, I think just Matt Reeves is taking his time shaping the movie that he wants to make. So yeah. All right, we got one more voicemail. This one is from Mark.
Greetings, Andy, Jamie, Brendan, and Andy's comrades in the 1st Burbank Feline Battalion. This is Mark from Portland, Maine. I've got a couple of things I wanted to share with you. First, since I am from Portland, I appreciate Andy's shout-out to one of our finest products, Shipyard Pumpkinhead Ale. So I don't work for them, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Second, I'd like to go back to your toy episode briefly and mention one toy that I saw on the shelves back in the Burton Keaton era that I was surprised didn't get an honorable mention. It was a Batman costume playset with a mask, a cape, a chest plate, gauntlets that I think shot foam darts, and a utility belt that could hold the darts. Now, I was already old enough to vote by the time Batman 89 came out, so I was old for toys like that, although shout out to Jamie and the Miko figures from back in the 70s. But I'll admit that when I was a kid, I might have killed Bruce's parents for a utility belt that actually did anything. The other interesting thing about this set was it had the second greatest disclaimer that I've ever seen on a toy, as the manufacturers took pains to warn us that cape does not enable user to fly. I'm wondering, do any of you remember seeing this set? Did you have it? Was it fun to play with? And did you ever have any play Batman utility belt at all that held stuff? I'm loving Titans. Can't wait for Aquaman and Shazam. Release the Snyder Cut. Thanks for a great show, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Bye.
Mark, thank you so much for the very nice message. I don't know if we've ever heard from you. He seems like a nice guy, doesn't he, Jamie?
He does.
He has kind of just a nice demeanor. I like him. I trust him. I'd vote for him for mayor, especially over that Oswald Cobblepot guy.
I was just getting ready to ask if this cat's last name was Quimby, and I missed it.
So, Shipyard Pumpkin Ale, hell yeah, it's the best. I totally remember the set that you're talking about, but I was still a little too big for that. Like, I remember that set coming out with like Batman Returns in like 1992. So maybe there was one that was more 89-ish, but I just remember the one coming out with like the Dark Knight collection and Kenner, and by then I was 13 and I was just a little too old for it. But I definitely remember the box of it, and I mean, maybe it's not too late. Maybe you can eBay that shit. Jamie, do you remember the set? I mean, you were even older than I am, so I can't imagine you were running around in it.
Yeah, the only set that even sounds remotely similar to that I know of is one that came out for the Nolan trilogy that had like the katana sword in it and stuff like that, where it was like a ninja training thing, but it was also his utility belt that was in it. And can I just say how much I hate it that we live in a world where you have to put a freaking disclaimer on that box that says "Cape does not allow user to fly"?
I love that it said that. I think it's great, but you're right. It would have been better if they'd have left it off and then just let natural selection take from there.
Hey, you said what we were all thinking, man.
So yeah, I didn't get an honorable mention, I guess, because I didn't have it, so yeah, it didn't make that big of an impact. But good call. Thanks for throwing that out there. And was there something else, or was it just that? It was just.
I think it was just that.
I think it was just that. Okay, sorry. So, trying to remember everything that was discussed. So, thank you for the shout out, and I'm glad you enjoy the show, and happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well. But that's where we're going to finally close the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you would like to leave us a voicemail, you can do that. Our number here is 323-366-9246. Again, the guidelines, please tell us your name, and try to keep it around a minute or less, just to respect everyone's time. But thank you guys so much, as always, for joining us on another episode of Holy BatCast. It's always been fun. This has been a random one, but I'm just really glad that Jamie and I got to dive into the legends of the superheroes. It was a hoot.
Yeah, that was quite the experience.
Yeah. And more fun to come. But in the meantime, Jamie, where can the folks at home keep up with you?
The first thing I want to do here is give a shameless plug, because I was invited to be on one of my favorite non-regular podcasts last week. Brian Warshaw and Jay Yaz over at Comics Now had me on, and their last episode, I don't think they've released one yet this week. I haven't checked. Anyway, we talked about Immortal Hulk number 8, and it was a really good time. I know we don't quite keep up with the comics the way some of you ask us to here, which is, whatever. But if you need more comics talk, check that show out. Those guys are doing the Lord's work over there for comics. It's really good. And we had a blast talking about Immortal Hulk number 8. So check out my guest appearance over there, and check out some of their back episodes, and subscribe to them and check them out in the future. As far as following me personally, if you don't already, I'm on Twitter at BatRaider3960 and floating around various Real Fans groups on Facebook.
Sweet. I already told you where to find me. But yeah, follow us, subscribe. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Please do subscribe to the show. Please leave us a review on iTunes. Please, as some of our nice friends said in the Wayne Manor mailbox, tell your other DC friends about us. Because we like to extend the family. So as Michael Keaton's Batman says, why don't you tell all your friends about me? Visit holybatcast.com. Find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you've got a message for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can email that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 323-366-9246. But that'll do it for this episode. On behalf of Jamie, I've been your host, Andy. We will see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
I wish you'd quit calling me retired man. I want people to remember me by my old name, the name that struck terror in the hearts of villains everywhere, the Scarlet...
Cyclone.
Something like that.
Scarlet Cyclone.
That's it.
In gratitude for all your past services to mankind, or in deference to the ladies, person kind, we've all chipped in for this little token of our esteem. Here you are. Read the inscription. No, the other side.
Are you kidding? I can't read that without my glasses.
But you're wearing your glasses.